Busch.
Did you get down there before this weather started?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I got to drive back through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 40-mile-an-hour winds, so I kind of like it. People are hunkered down in here. What a crowd.
It is
what
packed.
A great venue put on like that. Great job by DP getting this done like that. And Jake, this is awesome. See, we don't get to do the morning show because no one's here at 6.
No. They wouldn't be in here waiting on you at 6 o'clock.
No.
Bill, how you been liking the radio? How you been
what?
it?
It's really been interesting because of there's a lot of preparation to it, kind of having a plan for what's going on. Jake does a great job. He always has the rundown, kind of what we're going to talk about. We'll get off script like everyone does on a few things, but it's been a lot of fun. It's the station treats you just so well, so it's just, from all the way down, from management all the way through everyone you work with, real friendly. I mean, like I said, I just talked it with you. We miss you because you're one segment behind. But when AD and Raph and Nate, those guys come in right there, we have a riot and have a fun time. So the whole place is just really good. And then, like I said, that's just been very, very successful on every show. So it's really cool to be part of something that's going really well.
So how hard is that going to be for you to go back to coaching football? Is that something that you want to do, or?
Yeah, it's one of those things that's what you've done for so long, and you really enjoy that part of it. The interaction with you really miss the team. And, the games in football, when it's all said and done, you guaranteed 12. You're hoping for 13 to 14 if you get to playoffs or whatever. I've luckily been able to be part of some of those, to have those long seasons and be in championship games and stuff. But it's not very many games. You put a lot of time in for 12 guaranteed games. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How much time you watch these teams, whoever wins it this year in basketball, they're going to play 40.
Right.
And the ones that are all in right now, they've all played 34 to 35 games.
Oh, wow.
And so they have a lot of opportunities like that. So sometimes just that part of it is it's like, well, that's a lot of time you put in. If you took the time that you trained, Vershan, to play, if you took the amount of, you just took every one of your plays that you played at Nebraska. What do you think your amount of time of when the play was live and the everything was live? Mm-hmm. You probably only played maybe like 10 minutes
total.
10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes, 7 seconds of play, whatever. Maybe a little more than that. But my point is, think what you put in. Let's just say it's a half hour. That you played a half hour of time when the ball was snapped and you can get tackled in live because the play stops.
Right.
And back then you huddled. You went back. So back when you actually were playing the game, in between like that, it's not very much.
No.
Like when you play basketball like that, the balls, you're always going.
Right.
Things are always going. The game's going. So if you play for 40 minutes, you really play for 40 minutes, offense, defense, thing. So, but think about break it down like that. You played on one side of the ball. The position you played, sometimes maybe been at your spot, maybe been out of the game because they're in a different formation. So when it's all said and done, it's pretty crazy how it times out. So I'd like to, but there's a lot of things that I miss, but I miss the team. Yeah. Just miss being around the camaraderie, all the stuff like that. So now we have a great team. We do, and it's been awesome like that. And I said you having me on there is probably the whole reason that I got started. I would have never even been thought of at the ticket if it wasn't for you having me on air. So everything that came about was because of you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
but
that's true. That's facts.
You got the gift of gab, though.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but I enjoy it. I enjoy doing it, and we have a lot of fun. And then every section is so good. And also, I think what's good about it is that they're all different. I don't think if you're a listener that you want to hear the same exact thing from time to time. And then a lot of things, you may get some things that just happened that morning that we didn't get that just took place. Yeah. So same thing with the later show sometimes with Jay and DP and whoever's on that 4 to 6 show. Well, they've had a lot of things happen that day.
Right.
And so there's a different part of it. So it's a lot of fun. Then just staying local. I mean, there's nothing more important than talking about, the Huskers in every fashion, football, basketball, baseball, right now women's basketball, all those things.
Well, you get it in real time, too.
Yeah, you do. Exactly.
We real time.
Yeah, real time.
It's like
that.
Bill walks in, I'm like this the whole time he walks. Like, Bill, where you been, Bill?
Do we have that button we can press if you say something stupid or something you're not supposed to? I don't know whether Jake always runs that button. We haven't had to use it yet, but it's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen to us.
So, Bill, are you going to go back to coaching? Do you think that's in your wheelhouse?
There's probably a pretty good chance that happens. There's to have some opportunities to be able to do, and so there's been a few things that have come up. Recently there was to have some conversations. There'll be a few more things. So, hopefully that happens right now. But I will say this: everything changed dramatically when two things happened. One, obviously, being around my family all the time has been awesome, and then everything changed when I came on the ticket. Because now all of a sudden there's the first time where it's like, I kind of really enjoy this, and so there's a lot of fun to it. I'm used to always getting up really early, so that part gets me up and gets me going, and the preparation to it, and so I just really that's changed me a little bit. If I was just sitting at home right now, I'd be like 100% I'm coaching again. I'm going to do this really quick. I'm going to make this move or some options that come up. I'm going to act very, very quickly on some things. Now I'm not at all, just because of how well I've been treated and how much I enjoy the ticket.
Well, you would be considered a player's coach, right?
I would think so. I'm sure that wouldn't set with every player. I'm sure there'd be some that'd be like, hey, he's like that. But
is Coach Osborne a player's coach?
Coach Osborne. In the end, after you figured him out, he was a big-time players coach.
Right.
After you might not feel that right from the jump. That when you came in, you may not feel it right away. But probably the veterans like, oh no, he's players coach. Yeah, players coach to me means that he definitely has your back, and anything that's going to come up, he's going to have you in your best interest at all times. Yeah. Sometimes a player coach is like, oh man, he's just fun, he's just cool, he's just like that. A lot of those guys don't last very long. All those guys, you look at the coaches that are doing really well, man, it's pretty regimented. It's pretty strict. They still care about you deeply. You see that at Alabama. The players talk about him a lot. I tell you what stood out to me was when the coordinator like that, drawing a blank on his name right now, that went from Alabama that went to Ole Miss, whether he got let go, did he not, Pete Goulding. And but they talked to all of those defensive players at the combine, and man, they loved him. They stuck up for him. They're like, this guy's a really good coach. He took all the heat. If something wasn't right, they said it out loud. Like, man, there was times when we screwed it up. We didn't do what we were taught to do. We didn't execute like we were supposed to, and he took the heat every time for him like that. And so I thought that was really cool. How those guys, cause they could be like, we're kind of, why did you guys lose? Why are you not in the playoffs? There's some things, weren't right. They were like, no. Everything was right. We had good coach. We had this. We had a couple chances to make a play, and we didn't get it done. So I thought that was very, very mature of that group from Alabama talking about their former coach. Yeah.
When you look at, being at the ticket now versus coaching, I look at you and I'm like, I would love to have been, because I knew you when you were young. But I've watched you coach these last couple of years, and I'm like, see, I can play for Bill. I can play for you. That's why when I think players coach, I always think somebody that is not just going to give me what I want, but somebody like you're going to talk to me about more than just football.
We have a lot of conversations more than football. I think you'd always judge someone. I think that's why this last season meant so much to me, because you could tell things just weren't going great. Record wasn't great. But and again, this is a testament to those players, but those guys played on defense. They really, really played. Like, they played on offense too, I'm just saying, but what I was in control of and was in charge of, it was fun to coach them because they just kept going. And that usually shows that you've got really good stability with inside. I've said that before. I think this new staff will do a tremendous job, but they did not inherit a defeated, deflated team
at all.
It is a good, really good bunch of guys, and they're in a good frame of mind too. Really good frame of mind.
How did you make that transition from analyst, special teams coordinator, defensive coordinator?
Yeah. It was a lot, because the hard part, Vershan, about the defensive part was that I'd coached defense my entire life, and I'd been a coordinator 2 or 3 times, but I wasn't even in the room on defense. I didn't. It wasn't like I was. No. I was on special teams only. I didn't go into the defensive staff room. I didn't go into the defensive meeting rooms. I didn't talk to except for on special teams. So when the switch made, then that was a lot. All of a sudden, it was like, okay, here's what, when Coach Joseph came to me, it was kind of funny because he kind of said, what do you think about doing this? I said, no, absolutely not. He goes, well, this is what we're doing. So I'm like, okay. And then luckily I knew so many of them through special teams.
Yeah.
But that's a lot when all of a sudden it's like you're sitting there and the coordinator came from, he's in the building, but he wasn't even in the room. And so I also think it was good for Sean because we were able to, with that, I said, hey, we're going to change a lot of things. Whatever terminology that I want to use that's the same, we'll use the same terminology, so that's easier for the young men. I said, but we're going to change things. We're going to do things different, and need everyone to buy into it with what's going on. And they did a great job with that. And then so that's kind of how it started. And then we had really good structure and practice with what we were doing. Obviously, there was a bye week, which helped, and that got us off and running to play really, really well.
But what do you think the differences were from the first 3 games or 4 games to the remaining games? What was what did you do different with that same football team? Because those are the same players.
It was same players, sometimes even a little less because we had some injuries with some people. I would say the thing that stood out the most to me from just seeing them, but again, I wasn't good, was just they were really, really invested in a really happy team on defense. Those guys love to practice. They love to go through the meetings, whatever it was. They were really in a good spot. I think they felt also that they were, I'm not saying they weren't before, but I know they felt really prepared going into the game. Yeah. I know they felt like this is exactly what we have to. Here's what we're going to see, and here's how we're going to do it. I said all the way through, I said, I've been part of a walkthrough on National Championship Day on that morning of, hey, we're doing our walkthrough. And the walkthrough we did before the Iowa game was exactly the same. So as far as how locked in they were, what was coming up, what was going to happen. And so they were just a really, really happy group that was fun to be around. And so that's why they'll take off. That's why this group on defense, there's about 9 guys who started that are back like that. They should be really good on defense. I'm looking forward to watching them take off. I think the staff will do a great job.
Yeah. Did you I don't want to say dumb it down, but that's the best word I can put. You know, I remember seeing before you got here, of course, they would look to the sideline. They would get the defensive call, look to the sideline, and then turn back around. Is that something that hinders you when, as a defense, because we see offenses do it all the time. They always look to the sideline for the checks and all that stuff. But does that slow you down? Because I remember defensive having checks already embedded in their heart. If this happens, then this.
Yeah, it does slow you down. We'll give an example for the Indiana game because they went so fast. They were like the second fastest team on how fast they snapped the ball on I use the term shot clock.
Yeah.
So going into it, we did dumb it down in a way, hey, we're going to call this, and we're not going to change the call the next time. So our players, the whole time, their eyes were on the ball, and they were on them because they weren't looking over for I go, no. I go, the call will change when they throw an incomplete pass or something that's going to where you have more time to change the call. I said also there'll be opportunities on 3rd down because they'll slow down. If it's all of a sudden goes to 3rd and 9, they're a little slower. They're more patient. I said also we're not going to substitute. We're going to substitute only when each coach was in charge of their own group. So they'd be like, Coach Dawson, like, hey, you're up. Only go in when I tell you, which means they threw an incomplete pass or the ball went out of bounds. There was time to do it. You see people running on and off the field because that game before that, Indiana had like 2 walk-in touchdowns against Cincinnati, and they just weren't lined up. They weren't even looking over, and the ball got snapped, and they just walked in the end zone. So I said we're not going to let that happen. Yeah. And so that's what we did. Was like we're going. So we did a lot of repeat calls. It's just like, hey, we're going same call, same defense, same call. Because that way, if you execute, even if you execute a call that's not great, but you execute it well, you still got a great chance. Yeah. And so before that, it seemed like there was. I think the Rolodex was big, so I just made a big point of like, okay, who's ever going to be the safety in the box, he's going to be the guy that can tackle. Who's ever going to be up high, he's going to be the guy that's the best at this. Right. Who's ever going to be we're going to try to blitz our best blitzers. Don't just have a blitz. Who's blitzing? All those different mentality things to try to get our guys, and that helped us. And then we slowed it down a little bit like that so everyone felt better. And then we also, I felt we really improved in our run blitz and in our run fits on how we walk through them, how we fit them in practice, how our run through was. Then Mickey did a great job of bringing inside run back in.
Nice.
So you had to line up, and we're just lining up like this. You line up like this, hand it off, try to block us, and we'll try to get off blocks.
It seemed to me that when you took over as defensive coordinator, we blitzed a lot more like I'm used to seeing us do. Was that true?
I don't know if there's a lot more because again I don't know that what the number was, but try to first of all with blitzing is don't do it emotionally. Sometimes when you're younger, I know I did when I was younger, I'd get mad about something like, screw it, blitz them, go.
Monster, go.
And then all of a sudden you get hit and you're like, that was dumb. That was dumb. Emotions get you. Don't let it happen. So I try to really think through the emotion part of it and then have a pretty good feel for, like, this is a good in the situation. So the guys should look over at you on third down, and they should just almost know what you're calling. When I call it, yeah, we knew that was coming because we practiced it that way. You don't want to look over and be like, double take, like, are you serious? That's what you want to run right here? Because we've practiced that like once, and now it's 3rd and 8 in the 4th quarter. Do we really want this right here?
Right.
So the guys being real comfortable with what was coming, but we would do it on the sideline. I'd tell them, hey, listen, be ready for this blitz. The next 3rd down, we're going to go to this. If we have to come after them this spot, we're going to do this in this phase. So I thought we blitzed intelligently. I was telling someone the other day I was watching Ohio State against Michigan, and it was 10-3. And Ohio State's ahead. This is the last game. They're up 10-3, and I think it's still first quarter, but late in the first quarter, it's 3rd and 7, and they're on like their own 28-yard line. And Ohio State went straight max casino blitz, 0 blitz. They caught a hitch and went 70 for a touchdown.
Oh, on a hitch.
So you don't want to run blitzes like that when they got to go 70 yet. That's okay when they get down to your end, and they're at the 20-yard line or something. We were in a couple of those. Now against Iowa, we did come after them with some 0 pressures, but that was only an empty when they had no one to protect, and we knew we were +1, and the guys also knew what the check was coming.
Right.
So they said, if they come to empty, and this time we got a sack fumble off of it, and then that when Garrett Nelson scooped it up, that was off a check that we put in and said, hey, if they line up like this.
Off a check.
Yeah, so they did it themselves. I didn't have to call it like that. So they did it themselves. Hey, if they boom, they got right to it and got them into it. So
we struggled with tackling, right? At the beginning, the last 4 years before, a kid misses 2, 3, 4 tackles. What do you tell him? He's coming off the sideline. He's hanging his head. What do you tell him?
A couple things is it's just like, first of all, if they don't have the courage to tackle, they shouldn't be in the game. So those guys all have enough courage to tackle. We're not short on that part. But the biggest thing I try to talk to them about is that obviously we repped a bunch of it in individuals. Everyone's deal with it. But the big thing is how to be able to go take your shot. The biggest whiffs come into balance too early. I was always letting them know, hey, you miss a tackle at the leverage you're supposed to miss it, which means he's got a jump cut back inside, then population has to help.
Right.
And so everybody else, I'm on everyone else's on butt too, is like, he missed a tackle, then that's also on you for not being there to clean it up fast second on the next part of it. So you just want to be able to give them good teaching tools, know how they can go quick and make a quick decision on what they have to be able to get done. Then also like that, I'm really big on on your eyes all the time. Whether your eyes are up like that, where you're going to tackle with your shoulder to keep your head out of it for safety reasons to it. But we got a lot better. We tackled a lot better with some things. And once they figure, hey, we can go, we can do this. The coach isn't going to lose his mind if I miss a tackle. If I know it, lose it the right way with the right speed, with the right leverage, like that. And then you get better. You generally get better with that part of it. But in the end, what you really want is that generally, like I said, the ones that tackle really well are the ones that they really want to get you down. Yeah. Some guys just really want to get you on the ground. Some guys hope they get you on the ground. That's the difference on the ones. So you got to get 11 guys out there that really want to, they're trying to get past you to get to that guy, type of thing. But the population to the ball is so important. If everything is just, we teach it, Vershan, on kickoff coverage. Everybody always says, remember, old school was stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane. That's the dumbest thing you can ever do. So if you stay in your lane, if you have just any time in college football, if you run down with 10 guys and they all stay in their lane and it pops through one guy, it's just gone. Yeah. So the whole thing is about how to overlap. So all of a sudden it's like we use the term inside and in front. So it's like, hey, I'm here, but the ball's over here. So if it breaks, I can fold to come make that play. Right. And that's why I think this year we got so much better on kickoff coverage. I think we went from like 100 and something to 33rd. It's still not perfect, but went up like 70-some spots on it because of that nature of knowing, again, they're like, okay, this is different. This is how we attack this thing to be able to get it done.
Nice. The special teams, I got to ask, punt return. What it didn't seem like we had a guy back there that we necessarily trusted to catch a ball like a Corey Dixon with a guy 2 yards away and get missing. what was the hang-up in that? Like, why didn't we have guys that return balls, or were we scared? And this was before you. But I'm saying, what's the kid's name, receiver that was back there? Sure hands all the time.
Oliver Martin.
But would never take off.
No.
Is that a call? Is that him just not wanting to go? What?
Sometimes with them, it was so like in this last year, we tried to use Trey back there. Not tried to, we did use Trey, back there in those spots. And we wanted then we had Garcia back there, and he ended up departing from the team. He'd have been someone who'd been a good job. What's kind of crazy about it is when it comes to punt return average, where the year before, I think Nebraska was 128th. You know what our punt return average was?
What?
We were 7th in the country.
Wow.
In punt return average. Didn't have enough of them. I'm always trying to get a first down, Vershan.
Right.
That's what I want. But the situation with the punt return is first of all, he's my favorite guy on the team. I say all the time, the number one favorite guy. He's generally the toughest guy on the team. Because to stand back there and catch a punt when guys are coming down. Kickoff, when you catch a ball in kickoff return, the guy's 28 yards away from you.
Right.
You catch it in punt return, he might be full speed at 2 yards.
Yes.
And so it takes some guts to stand back there. Wind, balls moving, all these different decisions when the ball's on the ground. There's a lot of things to it. And so with that, you always want your best guys back there. There's also a time on punt return where and there was a few like the previous year, but it's like it's not every it's like poker. It's like you don't go all in on an average hand. So it means the ball's like that. So it's got good hang time. It's at 38 or 39 yards. There's people all around you. And sometimes you just got to be able to say, okay, we're out. Now, when you catch the ball like with the wind, you have some space like that. Absolutely, you got to catch balls. You got to be able to make people miss. All big punt returns. I know all touchdowns. We reviewed every touchdown return like that. There's at least a broken tackle, and you made 2 guys miss. So it's never like the person back there really, really matters for us with it. So it's nice when you have someone that's really invested in that part of it to be able to get that done. But it was a work in progress all the time. I was very proud of we finished 7th in the country this last year on block punts. Yeah. We had one for a touchdown against Indiana, and so we hadn't blocked any punts the year before, and then we got 4, I think, this year. So that was a big improvement and some big plays with it. But it's always going to be a work in progress. I think the new staff will do a great job. Those guys will be in good shape, and that staff's really smart.
Well, if no one's told you, you did a great job.
Oh, I appreciate that very much.
Teams. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now because I was like, look at Bill Busch. Yeah. Bill Busch just taking over. Special teams coordinator. Oh, no, defensive coordinator.
That's a lot.
It's a ton. What do you mean a lot?
That's a lot in one day.
and I mean, when you got that in your mind, did you say, okay, I'm changing the playbook? I know you're going to take stuff out, but I don't think we as fans and as former players understand what that took to go from where you went to where you went.
Luckily, you had I had the history in it, but it's a lot to all of a sudden be. It's to say, hey, you're the special teams coordinator. Oh, by the way, now you're coaching the safeties, the dimes, and the nickels, and then you're also calling it on Saturday. And so, but it was I had the assistant coaches were so good, and I mean. They really were. They were outstanding at that, and I did. I called it, and they always had a little bit of input, but they were like, "Hey, go ahead and go with it." And but they were great about everything, and the adjustments and things that we did were really good. Always could be better, but I was very proud of that unit, very proud of those coaches, and it'd be one of those groups you'll always be very when you see them around, you'll be like, "Oh man, I love coaching you like that." And that's why I said that's why this new staff's in great shape. There's a bunch of really good dudes in there that are already veteran and ready to go. But I appreciate the kind words very much.
I'm just saying, I think you, Mickey, for what you guys were thrown into, being on that LSU team, understanding this level of competition, because this level is different than when we played, right? And so for you to come in, get thrown on the table, and not everybody said that when they talk about the new staff and taking over, that the cupboards are bare. No, they're not. You guys took a team that might have not been well coached, and you took them in the season, and they look completely different. Great job beating Iowa.
Oh, I appreciate that. Again, great job by Mickey. Great job by Mickey. Coach Joseph did an unbelievable job with that team, and like I said, I'm very excited about how these guys are going to be moving forward. Appreciate the kind words. Like I said, I'm so lucky to have this opportunity to be able to come in here and talk to you and have a chance like that, and then love having the tie to the past. with that, and I hope that all the past players in that history, I hope you guys are up at the office a bunch at practice all spring, and because that's such a huge part of Nebraska and the veteran people like that, and things like that. Like you said, you went from being a scout team player to being team captain. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot, and especially because also it's always a lot. But it's even a lot more when you're talking about the people that were in that room.
Yeah.
I mean, those are national championship teams. So it wasn't like, well, I was captain. How were you? We were 1-11. We weren't very good. No, I was captain on a team that had dudes all over the place, and that is a lot to have that happen.
And this is my last question. We're gonna throw at the break, but you coached at Nebraska. You coached our scout team. We deem ourselves the best scout team ever to play at Nebraska.
I would have to. It's no matter what. There'd have to be a hard debate somewhere, but I don't know where they would win it. You know what I mean? No matter what, you're tied. So
right.
Somebody else can't beat you.
But what from your right? What made us that scout team back then? What made us good?
Well, I think it started with the locker room of it. Just like that if you were non-competitive on the other side, the defense was going to get after you. Mm-hmm. You couldn't. There was none of this like that. Hey man, be cool.
Right.
There was none of that.
No brother.
No. There's none of that. So it was on every day. I don't think people realize too the kind of reps that we got. If you remember, when we did inside run, we also had Skelly going on at the same time.
Right.
So that doesn't happen anywhere in college football anymore. It's insane how that worked. Mm-hmm. And then when we get down to the full team. Remember, we had 2 full scout teams set up. Mm-hmm. And so we had the reps, we had all the stuff, and it had to operate smooth. It was just such the expectations were so high from the head coach, from Coach Osborne, down to his assistants, down to us, where there was stress when you went out there for a Thursday practice and you're going to get these reps. We've got to get ready to go for this game. And the things you had to be able to get ready was a lot. And so everyone in that, you also knew that if you wanted to play, you knew if you wanted to play on Saturdays, eventually, you better practice.
Yeah.
And if you didn't practice well, then you're not going to get a chance to play on Saturdays. Right. It's not like, well, I'm just going to kind of hang out. I'm going to kind of chill. Next year's my time to shine. It's like, oh, no. It better happen here. And then people got noticed, and that's how you got respect. I tell people all the time, if you're really tough, if you're just a tough-ass dude, I said, everyone loves you. I said, if you're an imposter and you're not tough, you might be slow. It might be some guys that never played. Right. But you're like going, that dude, no, he's tough.
Yeah.
He's really tough. He wasn't really talented enough maybe to help a lot.
Yeah.
But so the respect was like this. If you were just like, oh, he's fast. What else? That's it? That wasn't enough.
No.
Then that wasn't enough like that. But everybody knows there's a lot of guys that played on those scout teams that never got the opportunity that you did. But without him, you wouldn't have had that success.
Right.
And it was the most brilliant thing probably that's ever been done in one of the more historical things at Nebraska that Tom Osborne did was the way you practiced. In spring, remember 4 stations.
Yeah.
4 stations. And the amount of reps. So what happened was, that's why when people like you, like also you have to be a junior, it's like, think of the reps you had. There's a lot of guys now that there's not enough snaps. You don't get any reps.
Yeah.
Where you always got reps. Spring ball, the spring scrimmages, they were like my first year I was with Coach Solich, and it was like a nightmare grading it on Sundays. There's like 280 snaps.
Yeah.
It went for like 3.5 hours because there were so many. And Coach Osborne, if we had 11 quarterbacks, all 11 were going to get at least a couple reps in the spring. And it was insane. But how they practiced is what made them what they were on Saturdays, because the number of reps you had that week.
Right.
I mean, we couldn't even watch all the film on Thursdays. On Fridays.
Right.
Hey, we're going on the road. We're going to go play at Missouri, and we try to watch. We'd have to just watch just the black shirts because there wasn't time to watch all the other stuff because we had so many reps.
Right.
And which is a huge advantage. And that's why also you're like, how'd that guy get to be so good? Well, he was actually playing football.
Yeah.
He was actually playing football. That's where you get better. Play football.
Well, it's funny you say that because I went from fullback to tight end, and the reason why they knew I could play tight end is because I was playing receiver on scout team.
Yeah.
Wherever the ball was going, I remember X.
See,
Y,
also, you were a big problem because that would be we have guys set up in their spots they're supposed to go to, and then we'd see the balls going on. We're going to throw it. We're going to throw it a deep post, and you're like, Vershan, that's not that. We already have someone out there. I don't need you to run out there right now because now you screw my whole. So all of a sudden now you're supposed to be the tight end on the next play. So you were very a little bit of I, and not a lot of me sometimes. A little bit more me than I.
I wanted the ball, man. Listen, that was our game day. I had 2 years of getting my ass kicked every day, but I might have ran 200 snaps a day.
And back then also with the when you were playing tight end, well, you played a lot of what the run game was. That you were playing a lot of 6 techniques. So it means what I'm telling the listeners is like he's lined up with players over the top of him, like the Grant Wistroms and stuff, playing head up.
Yes.
Head up, and they have one job that's to put you in the backfield.
Yes.
And your job to try to block them.
Yes.
And so that's a long day at practice. Mm-hmm. If they said receiver, not so much. If you're playing fullback or tight end or any of the O-line spots up front, it's like that. It was like so they had way more contact than the starters did because during the week they were up into it all the time.
Right.
And so and remember McBride always said, he goes, you only have so many train wrecks in you. And so that was like that's a lot of train wrecks like that. There was a lot of things like that, and then also
a ton of them.
Yeah, and then there'd also just be like vicious fights for a while.
But you know what? Though? We had fun on our scouts. We had fun.
Yes.
Because we didn't just.
You'd be laughing, and we'd be trying to as coaches, we're trying to score on them. Right. We enjoyed it when we made a play.
You guys really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, we'd be into it like that. We'd be like, oh yeah, that's right.
By the way, I never came to any of those scout team meetings.
What's that?
Scout team meetings.
Yeah.
I never came to one of them.
See,
so you're right. I was an I guy.
If you would have came to those meetings, your NFL career would just be getting over right now.